Oh, hello again everyone, welcome back, thanks for visiting once again. Just another short update on the small disaster I had yesterday, and I thought I'd just bring you up to date on where we are. So as you can see, I've managed to remove the spine panel with virtually no damage. There was a little bit of cleanup to do, but fortunately the glue ingress was only to a very small extent on these seating faces here. This area at the back here, which butts up to the tailplane, is going to need a little bit of tidying up, and that's going to have to be done quite carefully because there is rivet detail up in this area here, although not as far as I can see down to the sides, so this can be smoothed off, but I'm going to have to look out to keep that. The rivet detail here is virtually undamaged, and I can feel it underneath the pointer there, and the same on this side, so it is now possible to get this on in the way that it's supposed to be, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to go into why I think this happened. So in order to get to the bottom of this, we have to go back to the early stages of construction, and I'm going to take you back to step 3 here, where the let's get the poker a minute, where the frames 10, 11, 12 and 13 are attached to the floor of the cockpit. As I said at the time, the cockpit floor connection and junction between frames 10, 11, 12 and 13 are all very close fits. They're very tight, they're very good in fact, which is why I suggest one of two things here. Either paint the cockpit floor with these frames in, or thoroughly remove the paint at the junction. Now I tried to do the latter. It appears to me that, particularly with frame 13, I may not have done that entirely efficiently, shall we say, because what had happened was that, here's frame 13 here, you can see where it junctions on. This area here, this top of this archway, was interfering with the underside of this spine, so preventing the spine panel from fitting and butting up properly to the fuselage. So having thrown that around, having eased that and that bit to a certain extent, as you can see this is now grey and not silver coloured, or aluminium coloured anyway, what we can now see, and I'm going to zero in on this so that you can see it properly, is the gap that you will recall beforehand now disappears under the very lightest of pressure. So let me show you that. It's the very lightest of pressure, and the gap then pretty much disappears. It's all but gone when I press down on it like that. So I'm now satisfied that there is sufficient gap at the top there to allow this to happen, and it happens the same on the other side. You'll remember on this side, on the starboard side, the gap was particularly large. Now again, I can push down gently and that gap all but disappears. We can then ensure that the fitment between port and starboard and junction here is now good enough to allow a proper, a proper junction there, and I'll be able to do that. The gap here is slight, and what I propose to do is to fill that underneath the rivet line, and I'll do that with Mr. Surfacer, probably a mixture of Mr. Surfacer 1500, probably 1000, I beg its pardon, and liquid putty or dissolved putty, such that I can fill that gap, because if I push down on this area here for some reason, then you see that there's a small step at the top there. It's not pronounced, but it is there. So I think we can get over this, and that's good news, as it were, and we can then move on to the next step, and I'm going to get on with doing that in a short while. The other thing I will just show you quickly here is that the assembly of the Wingroot fillets and so on is quite easy to do, and you come up with very good fits straight away. The key areas obviously will be here and here, so you may be wondering why this stands a little bit proud. That is because the instructions call out to cut away the, let's take that off and show you, the gun camera. So it says cut that away, and that then doesn't interfere with this area here. That then means that those fits will all be very good. And having taped this down, you can see it's pretty it's pretty clear that the fits are good. If we look underneath here, for example, this junction here is always a problem for Spitfire aircraft, and you can see how good that is. Let's just zero in on it so that you can see it absolutely. And the fillet positions are very nicely done. They'll yield a mould line, a seam line, but nothing else. You can open them up, of course, as you can see there, but no need to do that, is there really? So, as we can see, therefore, fitting this in is going to be fairly straightforward. Let's show you that again, but zeroed out, and then you can see that happening. So, these two little bifurcations on either side get slightly in the way, so all one does is introduce it in that way, and then draw it slightly back, draw the fuselage slightly back and into position. And what you can then see is all of this comes together. So it is going to be a good idea to bond the wing roots and fillets in as best as one can before one makes this final move here. But as you can see, again, with minimal pressure, that all comes together. Without that gun camera in there, that'll all fit nicely. In fact, even in with it, you just press it down and it'll fit nicely. As you can see, there's some areas here where I need to address these surfaces having filed too much, but there you are. That's just me, and I suspect others may do this as well. So in terms of the fits and so on and so forth, that's all pretty good. I don't think we've got too much to worry about there, but I can resolve this issue with the spine panel, and I shall do some filling in the next day or so, or some placement and filling and so on, and we'll I'll see you again for the next bit, which, as I said, was going to be putting in the undercarriage and so on. Oh, that's bits falling on the floor there. That's not good, is it? So there'll be undercarriage components and so on being fitted there, so there we go. So one final thing, which I shall just bring in. I had some suggestions for the swear box here, and as you can see, there was one from NMB, which is Nigel's modelling bench, and one that I think is an abbreviation, BUGGRT, Buggert, which was Owen. Thank you very much, Owen, and Finsbury Phil, I think it was, put up again an abbreviated word there, so I've added a cost to them. James to Boldly Go was came up with a suggestion, which was I can't remember what it was for a minute now, but I mean basically it meant not very good, and but the word was a good one, and I can't recall it. It'll come to me perhaps in a minute. But I wanted to give him a bit of thanks too. But you should go visit To Boldly Go's Model Works. He does some good stuff out there, and he's doing some interesting little projects at the moment on the 1/35th armour scale. So a little shout out for him there. So thanks very much, everybody. Look forward to seeing you on the next one, and happy modelling. Cheers for now. Bye bye.